event.
All right. So Jose Luis Segura Maldonado is a classical guitarist, professor, and researcher born in Mexico City. He received his bachelor's degree from Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, where he's currently finishing his master's degree in musicology. In 2009, he completed a postgraduate course also in musicology at Real Academia de Bellas Artes de San Fernando and at Real Conservatorio Superior de Música de Madrid. So now I'm pleased to finally present Jose Luis. Thank you, and take it away.
Thank you very much. I want to start thanking you, Diana, Mati, everybody at the Sutro Library for this invitation, for this opportunity. I'm as I was saying, I'm thrilled, I'm happy, I'm nervous, I have a lot of emotions going on because I've been working with this manuscript for 15 years now, and now I'm coming to a finishing point both ways. I mean, with the research, making my hopefully in a couple of months my defense for the master's degree, and then this project for which I got a grant at the end of the last year, and I've been doing this kind of lectures and concerts throughout 2021, and now I'm reaching also the final lap of this project. So as I say, I'm very happy, I'm thrilled, and thankful with all of you for being here. So let's begin. If I may, I will share my screen to present some slides. I hope they are seen okay. If not, please tell me. This is what I'm going to talk about today. The Quaderno Peregrino, a case study on the music for guitar from 18th century Iberoamerica. I would like to, let me just close something on the chat to have my screen, my full screen. Okay, so there's little I can say about this magnificent man, Adolph Heinrich Joseph Sutro. There's little to add for you, especially for you, for all the people here in the Sutro Library in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, because you had him as a major, as a philanthropist, as a figure in your history. So I won't add something else. There's a lot of history, and also because there's now after the tons of material written about Sutro, there's this last book written by Dr. William Hoover, who made a wonderful lecture a few months ago. So there's no need to say no more. So now I'm going to talk about something related to Sutro, but more specific. Quoting a famous TV show, I will tell you the story of how I met a friend. I have this friend, the Quaderno de musica de guitarra, and I was introduced to this Quaderno in 2006 by Jesus Herrera, a pianist and musicologist also. We were working at that time in the project for the catalog of the music papers of the Mexico City's Cathedral, and he talked me about the Sutro musical manuscripts. I call them Sutro musical manuscripts, paraphrasing the Sutro Mexican manuscripts name, which lies in the catalog made by Michael Mathis. So Sutro Mexican manuscripts is the whole collections of that kind, and I call Sutro musical manuscripts these 7 documents, so varied and so distinct from each other, but I will concentrate on the ones who have that have music for guitar especially the Sutro musical manuscript M5, which is the Quaderno de música de guitarra, and I will talk about it. As I was saying, this collection was brought to my attention by Jesus, and especially because he gave me this great article written by Dr. John Cagle, who is here, I think. And when I read the story of the discovery, and then the I don't know, the context and the kind of music that was written in the manuscript, I fell in love. That's the only thing I can say. And I started to plan to develop a project to make my master's degree. I have to say, obviously, a master's degree doesn't last 15 years, of course, but I started my master's degree, then I went to Madrid to study, then I started to work at the National Research Center of Mexico, and I was there for like 8 years almost. So I was a little distracted. And then little by little, I was writing some pages of my thesis, but when the pandemic started in March of 2020, I had to cancel a trip, tour for maybe 10 concerts I had. So I said, I need to do this now. I need to finish that thesis, that project, and then go somewhere else. No, so that was the speed bump, the speed up for me to be here right now. So that text from Dr. Cagle, and then further research made me to get in a world very marvelous for me. I love the story of the Sutro collection, of Sutro himself, and then I was able to track the trip, the pilgrimage of this Quaderno. So that's when I started to call it the Quaderno Peregrino. This is the one. This is my friend. This is Quaderno de música de guitarra, manuscript, beautifully copied in hand. It had a first cover, soft cover, which I'll show you later, and then at some point it was recovered with this leather and wood cover, and it was added this information, Don Vicente López Conde, which is a character that we don't know much from him, but this is the document. The first glimpse. This is interesting because when I learned of these documents, I started to do some research, and I wasn't able to know how to have the music, to see the music itself, the document and the manuscript, apart from the examples drawn or copied in Dr. Kegle's article. So I did some research, and I found BMI Imaging, this company who did the microfilm images for the various documents of the Sutro library, but especially the musical manuscripts. So I had also luck because I have this political uncle. I don't know how to say it in English, but he's the husband of an aunt, and they live in California, and he is a history professor. He's retired now, Jose Mercado, and he was so kind of going to BMI to pay for the digital reproductions, to get the CD, and then when he came to Mexico in a summer, in I think maybe 2008, when the year I started my master's degree, he brought to me this CD with the microfilm images of the 7 Sutro musical manuscripts. So that was my first approach. but this is what I saw in the microfilm images. There's, for example, this reproduction of the library card. There they pointed here that is a 5 because it can look like 6. López Conde Vicente, Quaderno de música de guitarra, circa 1810, 60 leaves, measures, and it's bound in leather. Okay, and that's also what I found. These kind of images, these are the images I worked with at first. And at that point, some things called my attention. First, I saw in this reproduction of the back cover and at the turn of the cover, and there was an index, but there was something written here that I couldn't define, and also this information, López Conde, Vicente López Conde, and Cuaderno de música de guitarra. I thought maybe they are calling it Quaderno de música de guitarra as because that's what it is. But it called my attention, the Q. So I said, no, this is a title taken from somewhere. So I went back and forth the microfilm images, and there was no print or no evidence of that, both the name or the title for the document. So I established my first contact with the Sutro Library, and Mrs. Martha Whitaker wrote me back and told me that this information, Cuaderno de música de guitarra and Vicente López Conde, was taken from the cover, and she was aware that the cover wasn't digitized. So she sent me this. She sent me this digital image of the cover, and she told me this is a paper bound or glued to another paper, and in modern hand we have López Conde Vicente, Cuaderno de música de guitarra. But the good thing was that she sent me also the back image and with the index, and I could read better the information that was lying here. I had to do some changes with the reverse of the image, and also with the brightness and sharpness and so on. So I got this. From this image, I got this. And we could read better the information covered because of the second paper glued to the first one. So now we can read, we can see Cuaderno de música de guitarra, yes, and also, oh, sorry, this information which is which hasn't been brought to light first, the Luis Ruiz, or that's what I could read from this. So I told Mrs. Whitaker about this, and she was very happy, and then we wanted to that I could go to San Francisco to see the document, but we had to wait. So I went until 2013, and then who hosted me was Diana Conkey. So in 2013 there was the meeting. Then I could meet in person my friend. And there's a shame, but there's also a good hint of luck that this soft cover is separated from the original document, so we could see it through the light. And I took a picture, and we have another image of the Cuaderno de música de guitarra, and I think a clearer image of the Luis Ruiz. So I could confirm that what I saw in my first impression of that image. So this is part of the information that I could establish, and the coordinates I've been able to establish for the document. We don't know anything about Luis Ruiz. I've been searching and searching about this name. There's tons of registries, birth registries in Spain and in Iberoamerica for this name. So I'm not so sure if I can name a person or point to a person. There's not so many registries for Vicente López Conde, for the character who had at some point the Quaderno. There's not so many registries. I found three, two of them in Quito, in Ecuador. I mean, from the 18th century. Two in Quito and and one in La Coruña, in Galicia, Spain. So, but I was able also to photograph the manuscript and to see some other information that I couldn't reach with the digital images of the microfilm. For example, the watermarks for the paper, because in 18th century the paper of this kind of documents was made and in paper mills, and they had their brand marked in the tools they used to do the paper. So we have this kind of watermarks, filigranas in Spanish, to identify the paper. So I found at first this one, R. Romani, which is interesting because the Romani industry, the Romanis family mill, has been working in Spain from the 16th century till the day, and but the thing is that if we can see this R Romani, we are talking about a specific period where the mill was conducted by Ramon Romani Soteras, one of the lineage of Romanis. This is one of the watermarks, usually lying on the left side of the paper, and on the right side we can find sometimes this kind of shield of I forgot the it comes to my shield, but I mean this family marks. Sorry for the memory loss. So this is very normal that the paper was divided in the main paper was divided in two parts. One of them had the R Romani, and the other half had the mark, this mark, and then they split the paper another time in halves. So we have sometimes these marks divided. We have also throughout the Quaderno, sometimes we have the R Romani also divided in two. That happens, but these are my best examples of my photographs, because I hadn't much time in that visit, so I had to do what I could. I photographed all the Quaderno for the purposes of copying the music, but also these images for the watermark. So I have some of them. This is the Escudo del Carmen, which means it represents a region, a specific region in Catalonia, nearby a river, which is necessary for the paper mills, and it's a place called Capellades. And back there in Capellades, there's a lot of families who was doing paper, have been doing paper throughout the centuries. So I found first these two watermarks, both from Romani family, and that let me establish a period from 1775, the last quarter of 18th century, through maybe 1830, some 50 years of span. But then recently I came back to my images for the purposes of the thesis, and then I found this other watermark. I was confused because it's the same Escudo del Carmen, but with some differences, like this top part. And the thing that impacted me most was these three letters, F, C, T. So I started searching, and I could talk with Maria Dolores Diaz de Miranda, which she is a specialist in watermarks in all Spain. So she told me about this watermark and the family who made it, which is the family of Francesc Claramunt. But at first, Claramunt family didn't use this Escudo del Carmen. They started using it at some point. Then years later, they started to add the initials, the capitals of the name, Francesc Claramunt. And then, even though the Claramunt mill kept working, it was held by another person who changed the capitals for his. So we have a very a narrow period of time with this kind of paper, and we can now round on exactly, not exactly, but more precisely on 18, the turn of the century. It's the bullseye of when we can center the creation of this paper for the Quaderno. And also, there's a lot of paper of Claramunt in several documents in Mexico. So this is a good lead, I think. But also, I could see some other information, very, very good information. For example, concerning rastrology. Rastrology is the discipline who studies the making of the music staff, music staffs on the paper. So you can imagine that they could make line by line till get 5, and then another 5, and so on. A paper like the ones in the Quaderno have 10 staffs at every page, and you can think that you can make every line to get 5, and then 10 times that. But no, there was this instrument, the rastrum, which is like a 5 edges pen, which is able to draw the complete staff. Okay, that's one thing. But there was some multi-rastrum, or multi-rastra, to say it right, who could write more than one music staff. So I've been able to find that this both images are from the same page, and you can see that maybe who made this paper had a pentarastra. I mean, they could write or draw 5 music staffs at the time, because if you can see, there's a mistake here, more or less at the middle of the page. They had to leave the draw and release the rastrum at this point, exactly in 5 music staffs, and then they continued. But the next 5 staffs from the bottom page are continue. So we can establish, just as an hypothesis, that they were writing from 5 to 5. and so on for all the paper. Another thing, another interesting thing is that these music staffs were written previously. So who copied the manuscript copied used musical staffed paper, because if not, if they had to do the lines, they wouldn't do this. Let me go. If you are going to draw a cover, portadilla, you don't need to do the music stuff drawing. But if there is the musical stuff drawing, is because it was previously. So they bought the paper with this musical stuff's draw before. So let's talk about the music. We can see at the very index of the document that we have 81 pieces. This index is very important because it let us see that the document is complete, because what's referred in the index from page 1 to 60 is present on the document. There are no missing pages or so. But also we can establish that there's no, this document is not a contrafacta, which means that a manuscript made of various manuscripts bound together. From the very beginning, this Quaderno was intended to be like this, like it is. So we have 81 pieces, and they're separated in musical genders like contradanzas, valses, rigodones, zapateados, boleras, polacas, alemandas, un minué which is a minuet which is alone, then an English dance, and then another set of minuets, pastorelas, rondos, sonatinas, and variations. All of this music are very distinctive for the last part of the 18th century, the last years of the 18th century, and the first quarter, I would say, of the 19th century, especially the valses, for example. And the other thing is interesting of this document is that of the 81 pieces, 62 are written for guitar and bass or bass, and 19 just for guitar, for solo guitar. I will talk about this. All these pieces are separated in 10 groups, just as you can see in the index, and really separated with these covers, interior covers, which mentions the kind of music you have. For example, contradanzas con menores a la inglesa. I mean, it means country dances with minor, with some part in minor, danced a la inglesa, because the country dance, you could dance it in couples or in quadrillas, as a set of peoples. Like I always use this example that you could dance a contradanza like "Don't Break My Heart, My Achy Breaky Heart," that way, or in couples. So let's see first some of the solo guitar music. We have this Polaca, the guitarra sola, as just an example, but you can see some interesting things here. For example, this kind of writing for the music. You can see, for example, here, these 8 notes are stamped in a very normal way, but these 8 notes are stamped one in zigzag. This means that you need to use the campanella effect, which is a very distinctive way of playing for the guitar, because you need to play those notes. It's the same note, it's a D, but you have to play it in 2 strings, 2 different strings, and that creates a sonority and a very specific timbre. So you can see something like this. Also, in some other piece, the Polaca con variaciones, I wanted to show you the final, because there's something I forgot to tell you. None of these pieces has indication of the name of the author. We can say the 81 pieces are anonymous, apart from the reference to Luis Ruiz, who I think it was the owner of the Quaderno, but not necessarily the writer of the music, the composer. So there's no composer around. All of the pieces are anonymous, but we can establish some concordances between other music from the same time. And I wanted to show you this final because if you can see this, I don't know if everybody here can or knows the notation for the guitar, but you can see that this kind of notation is very normal for the instrument. We can say linear, but here we have a very specific and experimental way of writing two voices. We have this accompaniment made by D, E, D, E, D, E, D, E, D, E, and then A, E, A, E, A, E. It is a line in the ground, and then the melody B, A, G, A, E, and so on. But this nowadays you'll have this kind of writing, but this bottom line would be stemmed downwards, and the upper line upwards, so it's more precise for the sight seeing, for the sight reading. Sorry, but this kind of writing had its moment. At this point, the notation for the guitar was experimental because we were in the transition from writing the music from tablature to modern notation, modern at that time. So they experimented a lot with the guitar notation, which is always a very difficult instrument to write for and to write the music down. So let take a look at this kind of writing, this in this particular bars at the final part of the Polaca Comparaciones from the Quaderno, and then these variations from Arispacochaga, a composer, a Spanish composer from that time, from the end of the 18th century, who wrote exactly the same, not only graphically, but also with this idea of the ground with the repeated notes, which is not nothing of another world, but that if you can see, these bars are written somewhat like the ones in the Quaderno. Like this, we have, for example, one of the sonatinas from the last sonatinas. Starts, the first 4 bars are exactly like the ones from the Sonata Opus 22 by Fernando Sor. And then we have the Minuet Fandangado, which has maybe 6 or 7 versions that I can name from the same piece and from different authors. And so this is the way we can establish the context for the pieces of the manuscript for the Quaderno, since we don't have the author information lying in the document. Well, let's go to the music for guitar and bass or bass. As I was saying, 62 pieces of the Quaderno has this configuration. The part for the guitar, it's what it's called obligado, which means you have to play it just like it's written. But the bass part is to make this this musical practice of thorough bass, which means you have to play that notes, but also completing the notes for the chord in order to make a rich accompaniment for the upper part. But also, I think it's a very didactic, pedagogical way to teach guitar. And I have various hypotheses in my thesis about this. But for example, I want to contrast this with something. Usually we think that the thorough bass it's to be made with a keyboard instrument. It's cliche, I can say, but nowadays we can say that this practice could be made also with two guitars. And we can see it on this document, for example. De explicación para tocar la guitarra de punteado por música o cifra y reglas útiles para acompañar la parte del bajo. Which means this is a manual, a method for playing the guitar by punteado, which means playing like a solo instrument, or rasgado to accompaniment, to do accompaniment, and to accompany with the part of the bass. They teach Vargas y Guzmán, Juan Antonio Vargas y Guzmán, the author of this text, teaches how to read these kind of lines to do what it's intended to. But I wanted to show you this example of one of the sonatas kept in this document. This document is kept in the National Archive in Mexico City. You can see here over the notes some numbers like 6/4, 7/3, 3 with hashtag or sharp, 6/4, and so on. This kind of ciphers tells you what to do with the note in every example. For example, you have this B, this is a B, and you have to play over this B, A and E, and then A, G, because of these ciphers. So if you look at all the music in the Quaderno, you'll notice that there's any kind of indication in the bass part. That makes me think that this was a Quaderno for a teacher who knew the ciphers needed to do this music, because I have to say that it's not so difficult music to read. So he could read this bass part to make the accompaniment for the obligado part for the student. Also, one last detail of this is this indication, flauta. You can read it here, flauta. And you can say, if it's a document for guitar and bass, what does have a flauta has to do? Flauta means to play these sounds as an harmonics, which is also a technique for the guitar. You slightly pressure the frets, not do the normal pressure, and you get a different kind of sound, and that's what was intended with flauta or flautado. So all of this led me to do the critical edition of the pieces, because there's some things throughout the Quaderno that I had to correct, because obviously in a manuscript document of 60 pages with 81 pieces, it was logical that there is some mistakes, or not only mistakes, but some things written on the style, with the conventions of that time, and we had to bring them to the present. Speaking of notation, I have to say that I used this wonderful book from Elaine Good, Behind Bars, which is a definitive guide for musical notation. It was very helpful to do this. This is the layout of my critical edition. This is a landscape view of two pieces, and here's one a little bit closer, and you can see that I now write on the computer software. You can read it better, but also you can see here the marks of the changes I made because of the study of the music, and all these notes leads to one part of the thesis where it's explained why I changed what I changed. Also, I can show you an example of this was pieces for guitar and bajo, and these are pieces for solo guitar, the two of the sonatinas, and we can see a zoom of one of the sonatinas, and all of the music, these valses, the valses, the contradanzas, the minuets, the pastorelas are musical genres of dance music who was listened in the court or and then at the street. But there's also examples of music of popular origins like the zapateados, the we have this example of the minuet fandangado, which is a mixture of the minuet and then with the harmony with the chords for the fandango, and I think this document is very it's a good way to know the kind of music that you could listen in at the turn of the to the 18th through the 19th century, at the houses, at the parties, at the theaters in the meantime, in the intermissions for the opera. And it was a way where you could take that music that interested you and take it to home to entertain you, to entertain other people, or just to study it as a very I don't know, enlightening way of passing the time. And I want to close. I'm reaching the final part of the lecture, saying that also the Quaderno is a proof of a practice very common at that time, where you could buy this kind of documents, and you as a musician were able to pay to a person to make this kind of cuadernos with the music you like the most from a very wide corpus. So there was this maybe, I don't know, but let's think about 20 waltzes from Antonio Jiménez Brufal, a composer from Alicante, but you liked only 6. So you order to get the copy just of that 6. And you liked very much the sonatinas from Fernando Ferrandiere, but you only liked 6 of maybe 20, 25. So you ordered the copy of those exact 6. And also, if the hypothesis is correct, and this document was ordered by a teacher, also he was able to order the copy of music graded. So you could go from the most simple music, very easy to play, to the most complicated music, which was for the advanced student. So this practice called edición manuscrita, this cuaderno is an edición manuscrita, manuscript edition, was very common at that time and very useful, and it was a win-win situation because the composer was able to give notice of his music without spending more money at the printing, making a print. The copyist made money. I don't need to explain more. And the people, the public, got what they wanted. You can name the purpose, but they got what they wanted. So this is the context of the Quaderno, and I think there's no best way to get you to know my beloved friend than listening to the music. So I'm